What is up? Welcome back. It is Dave. It is Duncan. We are very excited to be joined by none other than Mr. Ben Harris Hayes of UK metal project Oceanica. Ben, how the hell are you, man?
Hello, sir. I'm very well. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I'm good, man.
Yeah,
How's you? How are you both doing?
well, yeah, life is good.
Throwing a curveball question, Dave. We usually ask the questions. No, I'm
Hesitant,
very well.
hesitant.
I'm
Good.
very well. All the better for having you here.
Good
So,
answer. Good answer.
No,
Yeah,
that'll keep me
same.
warm at night when I, curl up into a fetal position and cry later at the idiocy that I'm about to spill. So, thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, good. It's good to have you. We
Thank you for your time, man.
yeah,
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
no, not a problem. We go way back, Ben. We go way back, way back.
This is true, man. I was having a good think about this, and I was just like, is it rock and roll review? Rock and roll? No.
Yeah, you're
You,
close.
you, oh,
Rock and Reel reviews. That was back
rock and
in.
reel reviews. I was like, rock and roll reels, rock and roll review. Yes, yeah, my God.
So
That
that was
was
2012 to 2017. We did that. Um,
yeah.
and I think we first crossed paths in 2013. I think. Yeah, 2013 would be the Tesseract tour.
Tesseract tour.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Enochian
Um,
theory. Bloody hell.
yes, yes. That'd
Lifetime
be
ago, it feels, man.
yeah. Yeah, that was the first time we saw you guys at, I think it was Ivory Blacks. I want to say it was Ivory Blacks. In
Yeah.
Glasgow.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that was a yeah. It was about I
I
think it was
was
about
there.
nine.
Yes? Question mark.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
there?
Well,
I'm making
yeah.
sure Dave has to keep me right these days. Because I used to be great with gigs, like amazing with I could like a photographic memory for venues, bands, all the rest. And then recently I found out that I'm like that. Oh, this is a bucket list band. Can't wait to see them. And Dave's like, already seen them. Twice. And I'm like, have I?
Oh,
Remember that?
don't please don't get me started on that sort of thing because I'm just like, yeah, the memory fails at some point. I'm like, oh, I'd love to see that band. And you're like, yeah, but you've already got a T-shirt and you've been to see them three times. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
oops, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
God,
that
man,
performance.
yeah. Oh, the one when they did the thing. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
wow, yeah. God, no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
man.
was
Ivory Blacks, man. Jeez, yeah. There was about nine bands playing that day, wasn't there? I was like that.
that was I think that was the first honestly that was the first interview I ever did. I think 2013
It was. We discussed this recently when we
wasn't it?
re-interviewed Tesseract. Yeah.
Yeah. Tesseract and
Damn.
the algorithm that was there as well.
Algorithm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's right.
Remy,
Yeah.
Remy, the crazy French man. He's a lovely guy. Yeah,
Yeah, that was
he's a
wild.
good guy.
Yeah.
God, yeah, there. I mean, got to see Tesseract at Radar
Oh,
a couple of
nice.
weeks ago. Yeah,
Aye.
Yeah.
headlining that shiz right up to the hilt, man.
Yeah.
And
There.
I don't know. Yeah, right. That's the thing. I'm just like I'm only 45, but I'm still such a fanboy, and
Yeah.
it's a problem because like I've been to so many gigs, and it's like I've hung out with them so many times, but I'm still like I'm such a fanboy for you guys. I need to contain my shit, so I'm just like,
Yeah.
but they absolutely crushed it, man. Like the
Yeah.
costume changes and lighting and lasers and all, and I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, they're so good. Anyway, sorry, I'm babbling.
It's all right. No, we saw that tour just last year, I think it was. They did Glasgow with Unprocessed and the Callous Daoboys and stuff, and it was
That's
just
right.
like what a
Oh,
production.
Callous Daoboys, man.
Yeah.
They've
Killer.
come out of left field, haven't they? It's
Yeah, they
like,
had
Yeah.
our favorite bit of merch that I think we've seen in a while was it what did it say? What is a Tesseract or something like that? It
Yeah.
was like yeah, it was like the older merch was focused around making fun of the other bands they were playing with, which was kind of
I
amazing.
I
Um,
mean, fair play to them. Fair
Yeah.
play to them.
Yeah.
Make friends or make enemies. Was it go big or go home? Which just like. But
Yeah.
oh gosh, cool lineup. What do you think of Unprocessed, guys?
I really liked them.
we're on
Like
slightly different sides of the fence on this. I think I would have liked them better with a better crowd. I think the
yeah.
Tesseract crowd was a bit more, I don't want to say educated because that that sounds like a swipe, but they were a bit more sedate. Whereas a lot of those unprocessed moments require bounce, and they just weren't getting that. So I kind of felt sorry for them, because they definitely seem like, I mean, they were flawless live, but they do feel like a band that feeds off energy. Whereas Tesseract are like really in their own Tesseract, kind of doing their own thing. You know what I mean? So like, I think you could be playing to an empty room and you would get exactly the same amount of energy. I think Unprocessed probably have levels that they start to get into the more the crowd gets amped up. But technically, flawless live, like scarily flawless considering what they are all doing on stage with their instruments. It's kind of remarkable. So
awesome. No, fair play. Yeah, I've been because that whole thing with Unprocessed came out of the rumors of him speeding up his guitars and all that sort of thing a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I just I just think he's that good. And I was just like, it does look alien, but oh my God, practice actually pays dividends sometimes. Yeah. So
you should only have one thing though. This is we were talking about this at the time. You should only be good at you should only be exceptional at one thing, right? And that would be fine if he didn't also have a great screaming voice and an incredible melodic range, which kind of feels like he may have sold his soul to the devil. I'm just saying that. Like at 62 years old, the devil might come to collect. I'm just saying. I'm just putting these things out there. I'm just asking.
It'll be sooner than that. I just checked in. I just checked in with the boss. He's like, no, it's next year actually. But yeah. I hate talented people. They're just sickening, and I'm just like, But yeah, there's all that technical, super technical stuff. I'm just like, they just make it look so easy, but I get it is. It's just practice. It's routine, discipline, and I really appreciate that. You know, so
Good
cool.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose like Enoki in Theory was our kind of introduction to you and your kind of sound and stuff. But then for people that don't know or haven't heard Oceanica before, when did that all start? I have a feeling. I think I had a conversation with you a while ago, and you did tell me you were working on stuff even when Enoki in Theory was on the go. Was that right? Was that the Oceanica stuff you were working on back then?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was always one of those things that basically I wanted to start a project where I basically played everything and I did everything and I didn't have to answer to anyone or do anything.
Yes.
Now, whether whether that can be judged as an egotistical thing or what, for me, it was more of a challenge. I wanted to be able to challenge myself to be able to do it. And if it turned out like a pile of donkeys danglers, then that is what it is. But the point is, and it's something I still try to hold on to, is the process of doing something is what I really get over. So yeah, Oceanica has been around for this, and this is bad. Now this is the bad part of it. Is like I started doing stuff in like 2012 with it,
right?
You know, and I didn't actually get around to actually releasing anything until 2019.
Right.
Call that, I don't know, fear. I think I scrapped so much stuff, guys.
Really?
It was really bad. Yeah. And then 2019, I was just like, I need to do this now. Enoki in Theory's gone on hiatus. I need to pull my socks up and put on my big boy pants and just chuck myself out there and just see what comes out. And and there we go. And that was it, really. So yeah.
Nice.
We've discussed this a lot before in the past when it comes to people that ultimately are used to the kind of paradigm of a band that then go solo. And the kind of double-edged sword that creates. Do you think you were scrapping stuff because you personally had overworked it, or was there, were you going back over things and essentially reworking to the point that you were no longer interested in it, or is it a case of maybe you're in that mood that month, and then the next month comes along and you go back and listen to it, you're like, I don't really want to sound like that, or
get out of my head, Duncan. Stop it. All of that, man.
Yeah.
It is literally all of that, buddy. And that's the problem with it. Some ideas would be so fully formed online, and again, I'm throwing more paint at the palette. But the palette, no, I take from the palette and I put it on the board. Sorry, but metaphors. But yeah, sometimes it'd be so over egged, and I'd just be like, oh, it just sounds like hell now. And then other things I'd be like, okay, well, that's something I'm never going to play again. Delete. And then some things I'd just be like, I just don't have the confidence with it in it, and that mostly extended to the mix range. Because I was like, I've got to I want to learn how to do this, and I've got to pull my socks up and really get on it. So it's so many things. And then by 2019, I was just like, I don't care anymore. I'm going to die next week because I'm old. So might as well crack on. So yeah.
Devil's coming for your soul. So yeah, you've had.
He didn't offer anything for me, man. He was just like, bro, I think not, man.
So you've had like a couple albums out. The last one came out in 2023, Panta Ray. But I'm led to believe that there is now something new in the works.
Dun, dun, dun.
An EP,
Yeah, man.
possibly. Well, firstly, when did the writing start for this new material?
So yeah, so the project's called Try Not to Dwell on It, and maybe I can explain where that comes from later. It was a complete response to the mixing process for Panta Ray, and it became a bit of a beast, Panta Ray, and I was just like, because I wrote it pretty much over like lockdown and stuff like that, and it was all such a weird album as a result of that. Sneaking out to my friend's recording studio when we weren't even supposed to, But to be fair, we were behind glass, so we weren't in the same room, But I got a lot of recording done, and then I just sort of I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with Panta Ray, and I was just like, oh, this is doing my head in, and I was just like, what do I want to do next? I'm like, pick up a guitar and just do what you want to do and see what comes out, and I was mucking around, and I went, oh, that's a riff. I'm doing a post-metal album. Oh, cool, right. So that's the next thing. And that was literally the genesis of it, really. So during the frustrating mixing stage of Panta Ray, I was just like, I needed to be creative. And yeah, that was it. Pick up the 7-string. Off we went, So yeah. So that's where it was born, man.
Okay. And the idea is that an EP, is it an EP, an album, or?
It's 21 minutes long.
Okay.
So I guess, and it's just one track. So
okay.
I think an EP? Question mark. You guys are way more informed than me. I'm just like, go on, sorry.
I'm trying to think because it depends on who the artist is. Some artists call that a single, some call that an EP. I believe there are examples of albums which are essentially one long track.
True.
I think ultimately whatever you put on your PR statement is what everyone's going to say anyway. So you control the narrative. So.
I like that. That's a very fair point. I think EP is a generous thing, but I sort of just went, it's just a single track. It's a single track. It's it's almost the antithesis or a counteraction to the whole TikTok short attention span nonsense. I was just like, I kind of just want to be like, I'm just going to write the longest thing possible, and then I'm going to stick that on TikTok and watch everyone cry. So no, I don't want to watch it on TikTok. I'd have a TikTok account. So, but yeah, it was basically that was the idea. I just wanted to write something long and involved and slightly stepping away from more hectic parts of Panta Ray. Less blast beats, more groove.
Right.
Try some different things. So and that's where that was born, guys, really. So gosh, yeah, it's been a journey, that's for sure.
21 minutes though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so in terms of approaching something of that length, from a point of view of songwriting, is it more organic and go with feeling, or is it more kind of you've already kind of structured? Like, I'm going to have, an introduction, then it's going to go verse, chorus, then we're going to have an interlude section, and then built it there, and then it's landed at 21 minutes? Or is it more that organically this riff went into this riff, this part came out of this part, and then it ended up 21 minutes?
Yeah, that one. It's literally just flowed. Just like I said, I sat there and I came up with a riff, and I just went, okay, that's cool. What do I want to achieve with this? And how do I go? And I literally just wrote bits, and I just kept writing, and I went, I think that ends there. And then I need to go into something else. And I'm like, okay, right. Well, I'm already at the crescendo, the dynamics can't get any higher. I need to bring it back down, otherwise people's ears are going to bleed. But then again, that's what grindcore's for. So, there's full tilt all the time. But I was like, from my perspective, I'm like, fat old 45-year-old guy. I kind of need to like bring it down at this stage, and it just kind of worked like that. Yeah, peaks and troughs. And it was just completely organic. What came along, what came out. And I think the other thing was interesting about it, and it was shaped around various things that happened around the record, which I'll bore you with in a second, I'm sure. It just sort of was a very organic process, and I kind of really liked that. Whereas I kind of felt I kind of pushed Pantaray to be more structural than I've bothered for a while. It's kind of like, I think a friend pointed out to me, it's just like with the first Oceanica album, it's very like structured, and each song has structures. Then Pantaray is a bit more like, oh, whatever, and then he's heard the new one. He's just like, and this time you've just thrown your hands up and you don't give a shit, do you? And I'm like, yeah, I know, pretty much. So the next thing after this is going to be like a 90-minute, just like one note thing. I'm sure. I don't know. Me just screaming and rolling around on the floor. I don't know. So, but yeah,
I think that's an interesting approach to the position, though, because I think like challenging yourself and breaking out paradigms. I think a lot of musicians, a lot of artists can sometimes be stuck in, this is my sound, this is my style, this is how I construct a song. And as a result of that, I don't think they necessarily ever really challenge the full extent of where they can go. Now, that can work two ways. I think we've heard it in the past with certain artists who release an album where they try and stretch the boundaries, try something different, and there's critical backlash because it doesn't sound like the thing everyone wants. I would much rather an artist try something and, succeed in some of it, and maybe not succeed in all of it, but the effort to try that is kind of almost worth very safe to do the same album over and over again. And some bands have got very, very rich off that. But like the way you're talking about there, it's not just a change in style, but it's a change in approach as well, which is the fascinating thing, because compositionally, I think all of us at one time, when we've written music or been involved with music, we tend to think in those kind of binary details of, but these are the blocks that build the song, and this is how I write them. So to then kind of throw caution to the wind on that, is that an exhilarating experience, or is that a stressful experience because you don't have that as a crutch anymore?
I think it just came out, Duncan, to be honest. I think, and that's the brilliant thing about it. I'm not saying it's a brilliant piece of music, but for me, it just went blah. And I'm just like, here's my Cubase session, smack. And it just kind of came out in like maybe a month musically. And I just went, I know exactly what I want to do with this. I know exactly where I'm going with this. And it got to this point, and I remember saying to myself, like, the last end riff of it, and I was just like, it's like, where do I go with this? And I just went, does this end here? And I went, I'm going to listen to that end riff, and if it feels like an ending, then I'm done. And I just listened to it honestly, and I went, that's an ending. That's it. I'm like, I'll just be wasting my time if I try to push it forward. I think that's an end riff. That's an end bit. Yeah, fade to black. So yeah, it's like you said, Duncan. It's a fun thing. It's an exhilarating release as well. Yeah. But I mean, I just know I've got 7 fans maybe. So, it's no, I've got 8. but yeah, it's been a really interesting thing to do. And I'm just, I guess I'm lucky to be able to do that sort of thing. So yeah. Nice. I'll ping you a copy as soon as this is gone. So
yeah, I mean, musically it sounds really ambitious, but I also want to touch on the kind of vocal side of the track as well, which also is going to feature a guest vocalist by the name of The Lady. Can you tell us more about that? How did the collaboration of that come about?
Okay, man. This is. I'm gonna take a step back.
Okay,
if you don't mind. I'm gonna take a step back with something. I have to preface something here, and it's not. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I'm not going to overreact. I'm just going to ask you guys a question, if you don't mind. What's your thoughts on machine learning and AI development within music and things like that?
In what respect, as in to aid production, or
However
as
you see it, whatever you
see?
see. I mean, yeah. How do you see it? I get it. That's such a barbed question, and we could go off in so many different directions. Art is it good for this? Is it good for that? You know, is machine learning and development of tools within like digital signal processing good thing? You know, I get it. It's such a wide thing.
Yeah.
But what's your
Isn't it?
thoughts on like AI?
I'm probably maybe more. I don't want to speak for Dave. I'm probably more forgiving of it than maybe he is. But then the background and instrumentation I come from is synthesizers, which
Gotcha.
are
Tech.
built to create sounds. And like
Yeah.
even if you
Okay.
want to go one step further, an arpeggiator in a lot of respects
Mhm.
is a machine taking the heavy lifting off someone actually playing notes. So
Right.
from
Yeah.
my perspective, to lean into that allows things as long as what is the driving force behind that is a person, like either given instruction. It's no different than a composer doesn't play every single instrument, but conducts an orchestra. So, from my perspective, as long as you're giving the insight to that, I think that's kind of incredible. That you can meld the two. So
Yeah.
that's my position on it. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, if you get to the end of the recording or whatever it is you've done with it, and you stand back from that and you've achieved something from that you're proud of, I don't see an issue.
Interesting. Mr.
Dave,
Buchanan? Mr. Buchanan?
I think it's definitely personal preference. I think personally, I do quite like an organic sound to things. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for certain parts of, like as a drummer using things like Superior Drummer, Drum Kit from Hell, even like, different guitar VSTs that are used for creating certain amp sounds. Like that's absolutely fine. I think as long as it doesn't strip the soul out of something or
yeah.
the life out of it, then I'm okay with that.
Unless that's the aim of what you're going for.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, there is that as well.
That's true. That's
You know
true.
what I mean? Like the Fear Factory in a lot of respects, not that I want to take, I always take shots at Fear
Yeah,
Factory.
do.
I don't know why. But Fear Factory, in a lot of respects, like a lot of that is deliberately designed to be quantized and machine-like because that's the tone they're going for. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
ultimately to sound like part man, part machine. So when you listen to it, it has that aesthetic.
Yeah.
And as a result, the machine part of that takes prominence over the actual. There's still someone inputting things in,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
ultimately, once it's in there, there's a press of a button, or there's a leveling out of things, or there's something behind it that's, and it's all the way through. I think technology has given us the greatest advancements in music right now. Half of the bands we've listened to in the last 3, 4 years are people that are now picking up instruments, picking up a laptop,
Mm.
with very little skills and using like online videos and like downloaded patches and all the rest to allow them to achieve those sims, and the music that comes out at the end of it is, I've been floored by a lot of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's in part, we wouldn't have had that if we didn't have all those massive technological advancements to allow that. So I'm very much a lover of the tech.
No, that's fair play. And that's pretty much how I look at it. I think it's interesting to hear your guys' thoughts on it because it's like, I've been doing audio production or sound design for a long time, and like going all the way back to like original VSTs and stuff like that. Even before that, drum machines and rolling whatever is all that stuff, and through all the way through to now. And like, I always see new advances in technology to be a tool. Like you say, Duncan, it is about the humanistic input of it. It does still need that, and I still firmly believe we are way off. AI being able to create something that I can get emotionally behind. I've tried, I've mucked around with those AI music generators just to see what I can get, and I've had more fun writing terrible country songs about inbred South Texas guys, who like beer and trucks, and I've entertained myself for days writing silly songs with them, but anything else, not so much. What I've actually done with this, and it's been very difficult in the sense that I started working with a friend of mine. I'm part of a production group. We write a lot of TV, film, adverts, whatever, and we're all part of this massive group. And a number of years ago, I met a vocalist. She's a lovely lady, incredible voice. when I was writing, try not to dwell on it. I was trying my own vocals, and I was like, I sound like hell. This is not what I want for this record. This is not the voice I want. And I was just like, I know exactly who I want. So I reached out to this person who I'd worked with on pop and stuff. You know, she'd never done metal before, very skeptical. I said, I will write everything, I will arrange everything. I just need your voice. Would you be interested in doing that? She said, absolutely. Brilliant. Excellent. Kicking off. I sent her some stuff, sent her all the demos, ping me something back within a fortnight, put it into my track, into my session. I just went, this is it. This is it. This is exactly what I need to move it forward. You know, the music's there. I now have that voice. 2 weeks later, she was killed by a drunk driver. And
What?
sorry, guys. Yeah, I knew this was gonna be difficult to talk. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
This is you guys are the first people I've actually bothered to talk to about this. Yeah. So that was basically that. And in the subsequent weeks, obviously, because I've been friends with her for a long time, she'd helped me through a lot of stuff just by being a lovely person. And I got into some conversations with some more technically minded friends who work in machine learning and stuff like this. And I said, you know, oh my God, wouldn't it be lovely if I could just capture her voice? You know, and they went, why don't you? And I just went, what do you mean? And it's like, why don't we train an AI machine learned model on as much material that she's done? And she's done a lot of stuff, her voice, everything we can get. So that's what we did. Right. So the vocalist on Try Not to Dwell on It is some of it's her original takes and recordings. Some of it is machine learned code and all blended in. And we spent, I don't know, maybe 6 months building that model. So that's where the AI sort of thing comes into it. So to finish the record,
tribute. Yeah. Like that. I think that's incredible.
Thanks, man. I was too far in the hole with it. You know, I needed to finish it. So that's what, you know, and I thank my friends who are a little bit smarter than I, a lot smarter than I am, to help me with that, you know. So we trained this model up and I put it, and I managed to create this whole interface, and and that's how I finished the record. And I think I had two ways of doing this. I wanted to maybe just stick the record out and be like, what do you guys think? And they'd be like, oh, well, it sounds all right. You know, and then I was going to go, ha, this is what happened. But I kind of went, you know what? I just want to be honest about it. I'm just like, this is where we come from. This is the effort that went into doing this. And if no one likes it, that's absolutely fine. Do you know what I mean? But I kind of felt I needed people to understand where it came from and in that sense. So her voice is 60% trained AI model based on songs she's done, voicemail she left me, and we got her sister to like just help out with certain syllables and stuff like that because she has a very similar voice, which is good. And so that's the technical nerdy aspect of it, and also the emotional aspect of it, man. So wow, there you go.
That's incredible. I mean, on the kind of rest of the kind of technical side of it, I suppose, you're obviously in the past have done a lot of kind of recording yourself. In terms of this one, did you record it all yourself in like your own studio, or did you go to a studio? How did that work?
So most of it was down when I live in Manchester now. I sold my soul and took the corporate gig, but they pay me well and I get to keep a roof over my head. But I was living down south when we started doing this record, and I had a friend who owns a studio just around the corner, like a private studio. He does a lot of TV and stuff, private work, doesn't do bands or anything, but he's got a lovely sort of big live room. And so I did a lot of Panterai there. I did the drums in there. He would just give me the key during lockdown and let me go wild, and I'll just record and demo shit. And then similar into this time he was just like, "Oh, I've got some slots here. Do you want to come in?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, thank you." You know, so I did a lot of it. You know, a lot of the recording and all myself. He was around. My friend Gary, bless him, the most patient guy. Oh my god, he's just the most patient guy, especially dealing with a nutter like me. I'm just like, oh my days. But yeah, so yeah, he helped like engineer everything. I did the drums there. I did a lot of the bass there. I did a lot of the feedback. So I wanted to record. I wanted to basically make a synth as well. This is another thing. This is how my brain works, guys. I wanted to make a synth as such, where basically it was all feedback, pitched feedback. You know, and you see like guitarists standing around with X on the spot in front of apps, catching perfect notes and stuff like that. You know, and that's basically what I did with that. So I created this whole feedback noise synth based around that, and that's super prominent on Try Not to Dwell on It, and it's added such this thick layer of melodic content with, which is almost like complete opposite of what feedback is. Feedback's, you know, is very like chaos, but I'm just like, I'm going to tame that beast, turn it into a synth. You know what I mean? And when you're playing like 2 octaves on the piano, so I'm holding my piano here, no one can see this, but you know, just like, you know, when you're holding on 2 octave things and they've got this synth going, I'm just like, that just adds another layer to it. So yeah, I did a lot of that there. I did a lot of the guitars at home because aforementioned digital VSTs and stuff like that, you know. Yeah, and then it really is all about the tech, this one, I think. You know, it's like what can technology do in this day and age, for want of a better term, you know. What can we do to get us through this situation, you know, or more myself, you know, what can I do to get through this situation? I'm trying to find a solution to it. So yeah, I did it all again, obsessed over it, you know, stayed up till silly o'clock in the morning, annoying the wife. Well, all she's hearing is this one little drum loop being edited constantly, you know. Yeah, so yeah, it's been a journey, guys, and I'm stoked with how it's turned out. So yeah.
Nice. Another aspect I want to kind of touch on was kind of around the production. Again, I know you've been involved with kind of mixing and mastering stuff of your own, you know, previously, but this time you've decided to go slightly more left field for the mastering side of things, and have chosen the great Alan Douches, who we have spoken about many a time on many reviews.
Awesome.
What kind of made you decide? I mean, apart from him being fucking awesome, but what made you decide to go and you know, kind of outsource this one?
Literally that. Literally that.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Next question. Yeah. He was always one of those guys I just wanted to work with.
Right.
And I heard he's a lovely guy, and he works diligently and on the cheap for like bands that aren't on major labels and things like that. You know, he gets the major label payday and then whenever he wants, you know, but he's just such a lovely guy. And I reached out to him and just went, "Hi, big fan of your work. Don't suppose you got any capacity to do a 21-minute song?" And he went, "That's an EP, buddy, but you know, I'll charge you for an EP, but yeah, you know, we'll get this going." And that was literally it, guys. I you know, reached out and I just went, you know, I've always wanted to work with you in whatever capacity I can. You know, hopefully this is something that we can build on. You know, I'd love to actually record with him and have him engineer everything.
Yeah.
But this is the start, the transatlantic start. You know, he's a lovely guy, super friendly guy, super helpful.
Yeah.
And you know, as you guys are creatives and all, you know, you question yourself a lot of the time, and sometimes you just need someone to be like, "No," you know, in a nice way, you know. And there was a few of those moments, just like, it's fine, it sounds great, leave it alone.
Yeah,
you know. So that's so he was brilliant for that. And one of the first things he mentioned as well, he was like, "Yeah, stereo masters and all great." I'm like, "Yeah, cool. He's like, "Do you fancy doing a Dolby Atmos?" And I went, "Excuse me?" And I went, multi-channel Dolby Atmos, mix master? And he was like, yeah, we can look into that. And I went, yes, yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you very much, sir.
Nice.
Thank you. Take my money. Yeah, take my wife, take the goats, all the camels as well. Yeah, so that's another thing I
Awesome.
sort of came out of just conversation and talking to people and reaching out. I've always been very sort of like, I want to do it all myself because save money, why not, and all that sort of stuff. I was just like, this time, let's just let someone else get involved in it in a little bit. I'm sort of relinquishing control of Oceanica a little bit here and there, and so the release will be coming out with a stereo master, but also for those super special audio files, there will be a multi-channel Dolby Atmos and Apple Spatial version.
Oh, that's interesting. We just kind of recently started working with a new kind of online kind of digital audio company called Immersive Audio Album, which is like it's a new website that basically you can download albums in Dolby Atmos or like 5.1.
Interesting.
So they'd kind of reached out to us because we'd reviewed a lot of stuff that was on their site. So they'd asked if we'd kind of link some stuff to their website, basically with that Dolby Atmos and the 5.1 downloads and stuff like that. So it might be something of interest, if you're looking for somewhere to kind of to host the track or the EP. For the audio files out there that enjoy that kind of stuff. Immersive.com is the website if you like that kind of thing.
I will Google
He will
that.
send it to you. He will send it to you.
Yeah. Well, I'll Google that in a minute.
He just expects us all to remember the stuff that's in his head. Should never. I believe the kids on, like, not that I want to bring up the kid vernacular, but I believe the kids would say of your persuasion to go down the handing it off to someone else to do the old mixing and mastering, and the Dolby Atmos release. I believe that's a hashtag treat yourself. I think that's what the kids call it. So
right. Hashtag.
You have earned it. You have earned it. You treat yourself.
Yeah. The thing is, I never really enjoy mastering, even mixing, even though that's a lot of my day job. It's weird. Yeah. Clients I can deal with, my own stuff, not so much. But I actually enjoyed mixing this record, and then I was like, master, yeah. Alan, take it away. And then he was Dolby, and excitement, and then hashtag treat myself. Yeah, I think I did this time. I think I did, and I hope people enjoy it. It's Alan's very confident that it needs to be pushed forward, and he's telling me about all these like Dolby Atmos projects he's been working on for like big projects. I'm just like, okay, all right, I'm not going to say anything, but a lot of artists, well, I mean, primarily obviously record labels could be like, yeah, we can make some more money out of this, but but a lot of artists are genuinely going, who's at the top of the game for doing this? Boom, Alan. So that's it's just an interesting thing. I didn't expect it, but he literally came out of there right off the bat. He was just like, he listened to it and went, there's so much going on, we could do so much with this. And I went, oh yes, please. So so it's been a cool journey. Sorry,
is it finished? Is it done?
Complete? Yeah, it is done. Yeah, he's mastered it.
Nice.
Just we're still talking about the Dolby Atmos version, but I've got the full final masters back. And it sounds good. I can't complain, because I mixed it. He's just put the magical sprinkles on top to lift it all and tame all those horrible frequencies, which I like, but but he's made it sound great, and I just hope other people enjoy it, and it's all I can ask for, really, I suppose.
In terms of your approach so you're so heavily involved with everything that you're doing there, how much are you involved with the choice of artwork on your project? Yeah, like when you come to that, is that something that you loosen the reins slightly and go to someone and say, this is the scope, or do you let them listen to it, or actually are you behind that side of things as well?
I did a lot of work for Panterai, Photoshop. You know, I just like I've always been a dab hand with it because jobs and whatnot. But with this time around, you just develop friends and contacts, and I saw a very interesting artist doing a certain style, and I went, I really like that, and I just went, could you do this, but with this and this and this? And she went, yeah, I'd like to give that a try because it was a challenge for her. And then ping me back some stuff, and I was just like,
yep, done.
yes, queen, yes. And yeah, it was, and yeah. So I wish I could draw, but I have that.
I can't do it at all.
Yeah, I don't get it. I'm if you want a good stick man having a fight or stabbing another stick man, gotcha. But you know, yeah, I have so much respect for people who can create that visual aspect, and it's like the same with the music videos and stuff. I did a load of music videos for Panterai and all, and I gave the team behind it like direction and what I wanted, this is the thing, and they just went and did it, and I just like, oh my god, this is what working with professionals is like, you know. Just like, it's just such an incredible thing to do, you know. Artwork is such a difficult thing though, guys, and I'm sure you can attest. You must see tons of it, you know, all the reviews and everything, and it really does make a difference, I think. And
I think our brains are preconditioned. I think I was going to say we were preconditioned early on to look at like artwork almost sold the album, and we went through a period of, I think, don't want to say banal artwork, but there was a long phase there where it wasn't maybe necessarily as important. But I think when you get to a certain level where music on almost an existential level now can be seen as like a disposable commodity, just the way like things like Spotify or iTunes and other ones out there or like make music that way, I think part of me gets excited the same way I would be as a kid going into a video store and saying, that looks horrific, I must see that now. I'm kind of the same way.
Blockbusters!
You get the same way with music now. I think it's weird when the look of an album actually aligns specifically with the sound, or where you get that curveball where actually it's maybe just color as opposed to actually content on it that aligns with it. And what I found really interesting is like some of the people we've interviewed in the past and we've spoken to, there's a huge amount of effort goes into making sure that's just right. And the ones where I thought there might be a huge amount of effort that's went into that have actually turned out to be happy accidents. Of it just ended up that way. So it's always interesting to hear specifically when it's not a label maybe necessarily saying, and you'll record with this guy and you have this person doing your artwork because like he's on contract for 7 album artworks this year.
We got to get him off the books. Yeah.
When you're on that level of like when you are literally the start and end of every conversation as pertains to what's being released, it's interesting to hear those approaches as well. But then it's one less thing you need to like. You've written all the music and you've then recorded it and then you've mixed it. So there is a certain part of that where you're like, I've done my share. I can hand this off to other people now who, like you say, like bring that experience, think a slightly different way than you do, and ultimately those happy accidents end up being the things that turn out to be kind of awesome in the end.
Totally agree. Yeah, no, I think the older I get, I'm okay with letting things go again. I think it was I had a weird transitional period, sort of like between Enoki and Theory ending and me pulling up my pants and doing an Oceanica. I think I'm okay with it now, and I'm just like it's good. I can't do everything myself, to the level I want it to now, and I'm just like, it's all right, it's okay. And I think the other good thing is like, when you send information to people and they send you back something and you just go, oh, nailed it. Beyond, I can't even, yeah, it's so difficult to explain. It's like with the artwork for try not to dwell on it. I was just like, this is the mood, this is the vibe, go with it. And it was just like the cover that was sent back. I just went, that's the cover, that's it. There's no question. I don't even know I need to change anything, and I love that, and I love that marriage of creatives where it works. Don't get me wrong, we've all been through the mill. It doesn't work out, and and then the legals and on Facebook slander and Twitter accounts slagging each other off. Not that I've been there, joking, but yeah. It's nice when the plan comes together, A team style, So yeah.
Nice. And do we have a release date in mind? Have you got a time period where you think
I'm hoping towards the end of the year, guys. Yeah, okay. The other thing is, of course, because just to make things even more interesting for myself, I've decided now to do a 21-minute film to go along with.
Of course you have, yes.
Of course I have, Dave. Because why not make things more interesting for myself? So yeah, I'm working with a cinematographer. We've already got some cool ideas. The person's he's a really good DOP, so director of photography, sorry, acronyms. But he's done some really good work. I like his style. The mood boards that have been sent across look great as well. But so I guess I want to get the extra track out before the end of the year, hopefully, and then I'll deal with the film maybe as later next year. So I'm hoping December. Maybe, but that depends on PR campaigns and any other idiocy that I come up with in the internet.
Nice. And the kind of movie idea, is it going to be based on the kind of lyrics and the concept of the track? I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's going to be based around the lady's life in a way.
Okay.
Not strictly. Because I wouldn't dare even consider doing that. But we were good friends, and we shared a lot of information. So yeah, it's going to be sort of like a journey through her life, which fits in perfectly with like how the track moves along.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting journey, and this is another creative avenue, because why the hell not?
Yeah.
You got to pass your days somehow, guys, right?
Yeah. Well, this is true. This is true. I suppose my only other question is, you've obviously been in bands in the past. Has there ever been any kind of instinct for you to want to extend this out into a kind of live setting or creating a band around it, or is it always just going to be a kind of a solo project for you?
See, that what's interesting is it's like I get the occasional offer from old people I've worked with, mostly in Europe. Like I've still got a lot of friends who work in the touring and festival scenes who are now when I was first touring with Oceanica and Theory doing Europe and stuff like that, they were booking single shows in venues. They're now working for whatever, Ticketmaster, Clear Channel, whatever, big, the eccentric gent organization, whatever, any of those tour booking agencies, and they're like, look, come and do a show. I think you'd go down all right. I'm just like, I remember how difficult it was doing it with Nokia and Theory, man. Yeah. Just even with three of us and all the technology we had to use for the backing tracks and the click tracks and So I don't know. I'd love to play live with it, guys. I really would. I'd love to do one show. I think that might be the final nail in the coffin that I want to do with Oceanica before I move on to something else. It's do a live thing, do a DVD. Give it out to all 7 people who like it, and 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 then just be like, hey, I did this all for myself because I'm a selfish git, but thanks for coming along for the ride, guys, all that sort of shit, So I'd love to play live, but one thing at a time, really. I think.
Yeah, and you do have other creative projects going on as well, where that would possibly cover that kind of, the urge to want to play live and that kind of aspect. You've got another kind of band on the go as well. It's a bit of a kind of heavier project as well.
I love the blast beats.
Blast
Yeah.
beats,
Yeah. I'm doing a project called Lifeswallower. I play drums and I do like the sound design for it. And that spurred out of basically wanted to do like a 90s death metal band, like strictly Floridian, whatever,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, Morbid Angel, all that sort of stuff, all that sort of thing meshed into one. I know they're all like quite different, all different in their own delivery of it, but I was like, I can make that work. And I basically just put a post going, drummer here, love to play some death metal, let's play. And then like I had so many people get interested in it, and it was great. And of course, you know what happens when you're in bands, the original idea just goes completely out the window. Then 2 years later, you've got like a thing and everyone's liking it. And so that's what we're doing. Lifeswallower is I'm recording the drums in end of September. With Joe Clayton up at No Studio. I don't know if you know, he does like,
we know.
Cool. Yeah. He's the man up here apparently. So he's done some,
He's awesome.
Done some bitching records that I really like. And I got recommended in by a friend of mine, John Wingrove from Wallowing.
Oh yeah.
And he was just like, check out our records, see what you reckon of the drum sound. And I listened, I went, yeah, that's grand. That's perfect, That's great. So I managed to pin, not physically pin Joe down to, because that's horrific. But recording drums with him soon, and then we'll get the rest of the stuff out, recorded. It's not everyone's first project, if that makes any sense. We're sort of doing it when we can. But what I'm really stoked about is that despite me having to move from one end of the country to the other, everyone down south is still into it.
Yeah.
That's where we started it and spent 2 years building it. But I think we will play live with that 100% because that's a beast. Some of the songs, they're quite monstrous, and many riffs. So but of course I'll ping you something to listen to as soon as I can with that, guys. So
we love Joe Clayton. We speak about him a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was beautiful. That was in the stereo then, guys. Well, literally mono, but I get it. I'll message him. I'll email him in a bit and be going, "Oh, these guys, they're so lovely."
I think we reviewed the Wallowing album, didn't we?
We did indeed. Yeah.
Enjoyed that. And I actually listened to something that he did today. There's a new album coming out on Church Road Records by, what was the band? Is it Hidden Mothers? I think they're called. I think they're called Hidden Mothers. We've got to send that over. It's coming out later this year, and I'm sure it's Joe Clayton that's been behind that as well.
Busy guy.
Church Road. Is that the Employed to Serve guy?
Yeah. That's there.
That's right. Yeah. So John Wingrave was like being like, these guys are cool as well. So Joe was the guy to record the thing. I was just like, I've got to have patience, got to wait for him to be available. And he popped up eventually, and I was like, yep, thank you, take my money, let's do the thing. So I'm really looking forward to it. So
awesome, can't wait to hear that.
Thank you.
So you're like, your taste in music is very eclectic. It seems, like with the various kind of projects that you've been involved in and have on the go. I know you've got like Massive Dynamic as well, which is like at the other end of the spectrum. What's like a typical week like for you in terms of the music you listen to, just like for enjoyment? Like, is it a fairly wide spectrum of kind of sounds that you're listening to?
I think it has to be, man. I think. I can't. I mean, I love blast beats, and I'm just a giant kid. I'm still like 14-year-olds. Deep inside. But as I've got older, I appreciate technology. And like Duncan's appreciation of synths and stuff like that. I really got into that sort of like semi-modular synthesis and digital synthesis and stuff like that. I think it's what I like about the way I look at things now, it's just like, for me, I'm like, it's either a good song or a bad song.
Mm.
And when I say it's a bad song, I don't mean it's like, oh, this is awful as shit. I just be like, I probably won't listen to it again for whatever reason that is. I'm just like, it's not like, it's just not my cup of tea, or, and I can say that about tons of metal stuff, and I love metal.
Yeah.
I bleed metal. Well, not quite, but yeah, I think I love people send me such random stuff, and I'd be like, get into it. Like, I really, really got into like Willow Smith.
Oh, right, okay.
Will Smith's daughter. Her most recent releases have been really interesting. From that. It satisfies me in a technical perspective, because it's all polyrhythms, timing signatures, and silliness, but delivered in just such a immaculate pop baggage of joy. I've really enjoyed that. But yeah, God, music. It's just so much, guys. I know. I don't know how you guys handle it sometimes, or how you give it the time of day it needs. Because I get you get lots of stuff come through to you. Do you listen to like once or twice, or do you just like give it a once through, make some notes, and like,
I could
we
do
have different approaches.
Appreciate if I'm trying to pull the veil off it or nothing, but
I think we do have completely different approaches to how we do things. And what's really interesting is I've found that at times albums that, like, it's not the first time that we've been sitting down and, like Dave said, right, I listened to it the first time and I was like, I don't get this at all. And then by the third listen, I'd locked in on it, and then it'll come to me and I'm like that. I listened to it the first time through and I was in sync with it 100%. So I knew what my score is, and that flips in a weird way. I tend to say there are certain albums that we will quote unquote rinse before we do a review on it. And those tend to be shorter releases, and they tend to be like on the money, like right, like pinpoint, maybe not necessarily the most challenging thing to listen to, but I have a standing rule of about 3 listens. So like first listen, usually I've already made my score and my first listen, and the other 2 listens are really to pull out things I may have missed on the other ones occasionally, and I can count on one hand the amount of times I've listened to it the first time through, being like that, this is what I would give it, and then by the third listen, I've really changed dramatically, and when I say dramatically, more than a point either side on my review. You're different though, Dave. He goes back through back catalogues, all the rest for context, and I can't do that at all.
I need.
Sorry, Dave. So here's what. Sorry, man. So here's one for you. It's like, in that case, like, when you listen to something once, like, and I've been caught on this. Like, I'll listen to something, and then I'll be like, okay, it's definitely not for me. And then 2 days later, I'm like, what the fuck was that? I'm like, oh, it's that bloody album that I dismissed. And then you'll go back to it. Does that sort of? Sorry, Dave, you came. It was your go.
I was going to say, it happens. It does happen. It happens to me on the albums that I don't like. I'll give a day before the second listen. I'll not listen to it again. And the ones that I really like, I might, if depending on the length, I might spin it again. The example I've been using this year is there's not that I advocate for this a lot, but there's a band called Four Stroke Baron, who I love, who put out an album this year called Data Diamond. And on the first listen, I was sending Dave messages saying like that, this is incredible. This is going to be my album of the year this year. I've now listened to, I think the last count, 68 times. I'd listened to it over 50 times before we reviewed it, because we got it 2 months before it came in. I am borderline obsessed with it.
Okay.
It's two guys.
Just checking out their Bandcamp.
Yep.
Checking out their Bandcamp.
Self-produced, cool. 2 guys, and it's everything in the kitchen sink, but in the best possible way. But that's me. So that's like how my brain works. Dave?
Yeah, I'm probably slightly different. Where when I get a new album in, I tend to go back to hear what they did before I go into the new one, just to see where they kind of came from and what they've kind of changed since their last album, if there's been any kind of involvement from that album. Similar to Duncan, I usually about 3 to 4 listens kind of minimum before like I'd review something. I don't tend to make any decisions on a first listen because it can be so wild. Like, I'll give it a listen.
What's your mood? What's your mood?
Yeah.
How you feel? How are you tired?
Yeah.
Do you need some Celine Dion right now to stop you crying?
Absolutely.
Some albums have hit me much better at night time in a dark room than they do during the day when the sun is out, which is not often in Scotland, but it's happened occasionally. Time of day can have an impact on a listen as well, I think.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very, very true. I think I do try to give everything at least 3 listens. No matter what, even if I just go, oh my God, this is not for me at all. But I'm like, okay, why is it not for me? Go into the second listen, absorb it. Okay, is there anything that I really like about it? Okay, go back to the third listen, and so on and so forth. But I totally get it. It's just like, but wow, there's a lot of music out there to absorb.
We're aligned on a lot of things. I think what's interesting is like when we come in and one of us is already talking about the album, and it's like quote unquote stealing the other person's notes. Like we'll mention like a reference to a band or like a song that it reminds us of, which might be really obscure and dated as fuck, but for whatever reason, like I think probably because we've been friends for so long and we've like done a lot of that stuff together, it kind of works its way through. But I think my personal opinion is right now is, and I know it gets a lot of hate because a lot of people like listening to the same 5 bands will only ever listen to the same 5 bands, but like where we are right now is probably the most exciting time there's ever been for heavy and alternative music, because bands this year in particular, my theme this year has been, this is the year that bands have ripped up rule books. Like the eclectic nature, the fluidity between genre is blown my mind now. Bands bringing so many different elements in and just making them sound like, oh no, the jump between these is not a jump, they're right beside each other, and it's just because you couldn't think that way and we found the gap between it. And there are so many examples of that, but also the idea of band has changed. The amount, like this year particularly, our mid-year point, we put out a mid-year top 10. I had 4 unsigned bands in there, so they're not relying on record labels, it's self-released. But on top of that as well, I think 3 of those bands are just 2 people. Just 2 people just doing everything. And I think that's the level we are now. Like musicians are not like, well, you're the case in point for that. Musicians are not hampered by the fact of where they live, access to musicians or whatnot. They use, whether it be technology or they upskill themselves in the requirements of writing, recording, etc. Like that option is now there where it didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. And people are taking full advantage of it. And a year on year that we've been doing our reviews since 2020, since we started doing Metal Epidemic, every single year has been better than the year before. So,
I mean, that's exactly how I feel, man. It's like technology has moved so exponentially forward, and it's just like it gives everybody an opportunity to make beats, make noises, make whatever you want, and it's all just there for people to use if they want to learn to use it. You know, the amount of people I had in the past, like when I used to teach instrument lessons, they'd be like, oh, I wish I'd learned guitar. I'm like, well, why didn't you? You don't wish it, you just want to do it, learn to do it. Like now people just go, oh, I want to learn to mix and record mic beats. Go and do it. It's super. You can get free stuff here. Crack on, see what you come out with, enjoy the process. And it literally goes back to what I was saying earlier about enjoying the process, the journey of it, the development, that voyage of discovery. When you play that chord and it comes into another chord, you go, oh that's that journey. You don't need to learn, don't need to know tons of musical theory.
Everything you're doing has to be fun. If it's consuming time, that is not time that you're being paid for, ergo work.
Otherwise, what's the point? It's literally what I say to everybody who plays an instrument. If you're not enjoying the process, you're not enjoying the playing, why are you doing it? Find a way to make it enjoyable. Find a way to make it enjoyable. It's interesting. It's like the other sounders on our work with the company, like he's just started playing guitar. He's more of a synth guy, you know,
Mhm.
and he started playing guitar. And he's like, "Oh, I've not played for a couple of weeks, so I feel really bad." I'm like, quit that shit, bro. Don't feel bad about it. You need to find the enjoyment for the process. And I said to him, I was like, "How many chords do you know?" And he was just like, "Well, I can play 5 on the acoustic guitar." And I went, "Brilliant." He's like, "But I always played them in the same order. But I learned them on the video." And I went, "All right, okay, here's a. Let's write down the chords." And he's like, "Yeah. Okay, cool. And I went, "I'm going to put them in a different order. And I want you to play that at this tempo with this click track in Cubase in any length of shapes. Come back to me." You know, a couple of days later, he was like, "Boom. Oh my God."
Yeah.
He's like, "I think I've written my first song." And I went,
There you go.
"Yes,
Nice.
exactly." It's just about, enjoyment for the process, enjoyment for the, otherwise, why are you doing it? You know,
Yeah,
you might as
true.
well just,
Yeah.
throw your guitar out the window or something. I don't know. I don't do that. That's
Very
littering.
true.
But,
Well, Ben, listen, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. It's been a really interesting chat. Can't wait to hear
Thank you.
the track. Really excited to check that out.
Thanks, guys.
Not a problem. I'll put all the links below to your social media and Spotify and Apple and all that, so people can check it out, have a listen, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this new track when it's due to come out as well.
100%.
I'll ping you guys a copy as soon as I can, as soon as I work out what the hell I'm doing with it. But thank you so much for your time. It's lovely to talk to you. I really appreciate it. And let's not make this the last one, eh?
For sure.
No, I mean,
For
someone
sure.
said something about a death metal project, so I dare say there'll be plenty of talking about that as well. So
I'll be shamelessly promoting that at some point. Yeah, don't worry about that. I'll get you a copy about that, buddy.
phenomenal.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Much appreciated.
Guys, take care. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.